السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على النبي الكريم وبعد السلام عليكم. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to continue our lesson in Kitab AlAkhdari. This is going to be the 7th lesson under Zuhra Educational Foundation. We are going to continue from the section on dry ablution, inshallah. Faslan fi tayammumi, section on dry ablution. Dry ablution, that is with the clean level, which we call at-tayammum. وَيَتَيَمَّمُ الْمُسَافِرُ فِي غَيْرِ مَعْصِيَةٍ. A traveler can perform tayammum for a permissible journeys. وَالْمَرِيدُ لِفَرِيضَةٍ أَوْ نَافِلَةٍ. And for the case of a sick person, he can perform the tayammum for an obligatory or supererogatory prayer. ويتيمم الحاضر الصحيح للفرائض. A healthy resident may perform tayammum for an obligatory prayer إذا خاف خروج وقتها, if he fears that the exit of the time, if he fears that the time of the prayer is going to exit without him being observing or performing that prayer. So in that case, he can observe tayammum and perform his prayers. ولا يتيمم الحاضر الصحيح لنافلة ولا جمعة ولا جنازة إلا إذا تعينت عليه الجنازة. As for the case of a healthy resident person, he does not perform tayammum for a recommended prayer, neither for Friday prayers nor funerals prayer, unless the funeral is an obligation upon him. It can be an obligation before him, upon him, in the case whereby it is a close relative for him, maybe his father or his son, or he is assigned that he should be the imam to lead that prayer, and in that case, there is no water around the place, so he has no option but to perform the dry ablution in order to lead people for them not to continue waiting for him. Okay, فرائض التيمم, obligations of tayammum, النية, that is the intention, والصعيد الطاهر, the clean level, ومس الوجه, wiping the face, ومس اليدين إلى الكوعين, wiping the hands to the wrist bones, وضربة الأرض الأولى, the first contact with the earth. It's not that like you will be beating the sand like you are fighting with the sand, but just to put your hands on the top of the sand and wipe off your face. والفور, continuity, as we explained earlier, ودخول الوقت, and the time of prayer is due. You cannot observe tayammum unless if the time of the prayer is due. واتصاله بالصلاة, then connecting the tayammum with prayers. What we are seeing here is that since you are not expected to observe or perform tayammum until you search for water and you are not able to get that water, so in that case we are expecting that the time of prayers is due, because for the case of ablution, you can perform ablution 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours before the time for a prayer. But for the case of tayammum, you have to observe that tayammum when the time of prayer is due, because you are expected to search for water before moving to the stage of tayammum. والصعيد, then what is the definition of clean level? That is as-sa'id. وهو التراب, it is a sand. والطوب, a dope brick, that is on big brick. والحجر, the rock. والثلج, the snow. والخضخاد ونحو ذلك, and the mud, and also the likes. All these we can observe or perform the dry ablution with them. ولا يجوز بالجسم المطبوخ, our tayammum is not permissible on cooked plaster, والحصير or mats, والخشب or wood, والحشيش or grass, ونحوه, and the like. ورخص للمريض, it is simplified or it is permissible for the case of a sick person في حائض الحجر to perform the tayammum, or to use حائض الحجر, to use stone, والطوب or brick, a brick wall, إن لم يجد مناولا غيره, if he does not have any person to get him a better option. If you don't have any person to get you a better option so that you can perform your dry ablution, that is the tayammum, then you can do it in these places. Sunan tayammum, that is the supererogatories of tayammum. Sunanuhu, the supererogatories of tayammum, tajid as-sa'idu liyadayhi, contacting the earth a second time for wiping his hands, ومسح ما بين الكوعين والمرفقين, and wiping between the wrist and the elbows, والترتيب, and making it in order. فضائل التيمم, that is the virtuous acts of tayammum. التسمية, saying the Bismillah. وتقديم اليمنى على اليسرى, starting with the right hand before left. وتقديم ظاهر الذراع على باطنه, starting with the outer part of the arms before the inner one. ومقدمه على مؤخره, and wiping the front part before the end part. نواقض التيمم, what invalidates tayammum. ونواقضه كالوضوء, as for what invalidates dry ablution, as the same things that invalidate ablution. ولا تصلى فريضتان بتيمم واحد. It is not permissible to perform two obligatory prayers with one tayammum, because each prayer you are expected to search for water, unless if you did not get for water, then you are going to go for tayammum. ومن تيمم لفريضة جاز له النوافل بعدها. Whoever performs tayammum for an obligatory prayer may observe النوافل بعدها, voluntary prayers, that is the nafila after it. ومس المصحف, and he is allowed to touch the Quran. والطواف, he is allowed to circumambulate, that is the tawaf. والتلاوة, he can recite the Quran. إن وذلك, with the conditions that he has intent to do that. واتصلت بالصلاة, and the second condition that it should be immediately after the prayer. ولم يخرج الوقت, the third condition is that the time of prayer has not elapsed. وجاز بتيمم النافلة كل ما ذكر. It is permissible to observe all the affirmation with the tayammum of voluntary prayers, إلا الفريضة, except obligatory prayer. What we are seeing here is that if you observe dry ablution for the sake of all this circumambulation, tilawa, masul mushaf, you can also for the case of observing nafila prayer, you can all do all those things, but illa al-farida, you cannot do obligatory prayer. ومن صلى الإشاء بتيمم قام للشفعي والوتر. Whoever prays Isha'i prayer with tayammum, he can observe Shafa'i and Witri afterwards, من غير تأخير, but without wasting of time or without delay. ومن تيمم من جنابة فلا بد من نيتها. But whoever wants to perform tayammum while in the state of impurity, then there must be a specified intention for that. Alhamdulillah.